You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
The newsman on the TV talking about D.C. Another shutdown coming like a winter storm, you see. Folks laid off, bills piling high, just waiting on some word. While the big shots up in Washington ain't saying what I've heard. Oh, the Capitol's still standing, ain't falling down today. But the folks back home are wondering how much more they gotta pay. With their livelihoods on hold and their futures looking dim, while the politicians bicker on a partisan whim. My neighbor, he's a park ranger, cleaning up the trail.
Greetings and salutations.
Now he's home staring at the ceiling.
It's Safety Wars for Tuesday, November 11th, 2025. I hope you had a chance to thank a veteran today. I know we did. We started off at the Project Come On thanking the veterans there and calling them out. So if you forgot to do that today, it's still not too late at the time of the recording, and it's not too late to do it tomorrow. There. there is atonement. Always thank the veteran when appropriate. How's everybody doing? It's been a week here. We had a whole bunch of stuff happen. No meetings at night, so I could not get on the air here. So that's why it goes. Been dying to talk about the election last week, and we're going to do that a little bit later on. I'm going to get to some other news today here. So let's see if anything changed in the last 20 minutes here. No. So nothing's changed. So word it was that the Senate urged Republicans to, and everybody else for that matter, to get back to Washington this week as soon as they can, because we're going to have a vote by the House of Representatives on the bill that the Senate passed on getting this whole thing back up and running. They're predicting that it's going to take a couple of days to get things up and running, especially in the FAA with the air traffic controllers and some of the other transportation sectors out there. So we'll see how this goes. It's been 42, 43 days, depending on how you want to count here. And my wife had a travel hell. She went down to, so they do an event every year in Washington for her organization where they visit all the Congress people's offices and senators' offices and lobby. My wife works for a charity, and they lobby for the charity and there to go and get everything else. Why does this camera still continue to move here? Right? And what ended up, it's, so she's scheduled to go out of Newark, right? Oops. She's scheduled to go out of Newark on Thursday morning. Ends up, there's a flight delay, and then there's another delay. She ends up taking the train down to Washington, D.C., and she said it was like a cattle car on there, because everybody's flights are delayed there. Finally got the camera in place here. Everyone's flights are delayed. And on the way back, it was the same deal. On the way back, she came back Saturday afternoon. I knew I would not be able to see my brother, so my family and I spent the day at the Veterans Administration over in Lyons, New Jersey, and visited him along with some other veterans out there. So it was it's an experience with what the veterans have to go through. They went through whatever they went through in the military, and then later became disabled based on their injuries in the military and situations in the military. A lot of them end up at a veterans home. And there are state homes for veterans, and there are federal homes for veterans managed by the VA. And it all depends on who's going to pay and how it's going to be paid and everything else with that. So that's essentially what the deal is there with that. And it's, I tell you what, you really need to have, if you can't advocate for yourself, you have to have somebody advocating for you. There. And oftentimes, whether it's, this is not unique to the VA system. It's also in the private systems where people get warehoused away in a nursing home. And it doesn't matter whether they're young or old. People have all different situations. Or it could be from a regular institution. They get warehoused in there. And Veterans Administration does a pretty good job at helping things. I mean, you go into the facility, it's like, I wouldn't do it, but you could probably eat off the floor. Place is clean. Well-maintained. Friendly staff. Right? With everything. But simple things that we take for granted, the veterans don't often have. Stupid things. So I'll usually visit like every week or every other week. Someone from the family will go down, and what we end up doing is we take orders from people, for people. So, for example, you say, well, what do you mean orders? You mean food orders? Sometimes they are food orders. Hey, can you pick me up a 6-pack of Pepsi? That's way we don't have to get it out of the vending machine. Or, hey, Oreos, right? That's the big thing. Oreos are premium. I mean, they steal Oreos there from each other and trade them. It's like cigarettes in prison. Oreo cookies. No, stuff like that, but stupid things that we take for granted. So, for example, I've bought shoelaces. You say, well, Jim, what's the big deal about a shoelace? Guess what? We're in our normal lives outside of these facilities. Our shoelace breaks. Now, with me, I have like 3 or 4 extra pairs of shoelaces laying around. Guess what? I'll go and I'll get a pair of shoelaces. Oh, I have 5 people in the house. Guess what? Shoelaces go sometimes. So now shoelace or replace a shoelace. Guess what? You don't have a shoelace in the Veterans Administration, and if it's a weekend, guess what? You have no way of getting one. Now things are getting easier with like Uber Eats and Walmart directing things, right? You could Uber things, right? But not always. Belts, right? Guess what? You don't have shoes, you don't have a belt, you can't get around. Can't do it. Stupid things like that. And no, again, the food is actually really good compared to what it used to be. But guess what? It's still hospital food. So you end up getting takeout and things of that nature. There's a local liquor store there, and they have not. I would never bring real beer to the VA, but I do bring the non-alcoholic version for it. So at least, you can pick up a pizza, some non-alcoholic beer. Now, pizza and beer, you have a normal type of thing with people. And it's appreciated. Any help you can give. There are various charities in there. So, for example, Knights of Columbus takes turns. St. Andrews used to do it out of Avenel, New Jersey. Where my other brother, who passed away, was a member. They used to go to the VA all the time and take the veterans to church and different celebrating holidays. I don't know if they still do it or not, but other organizations do that, not only the Knights of Columbus. Again, anything you can do to help. It's nice for us to say, well, hey, I'm going to thank a veteran. And no, it's sincere. We get it. But if you can, help a veteran. Especially the disabled ones. You got to go out there and help them regardless of what their disability is with that. Just a little bit of optimism goes a long way with that. And that's what I'm going to open with. So let's go on to the regular news here. Now, we're getting new listeners all the time. I'm thank you for the people who are promoting the show. I'll leave it at that. We're getting a lot of people promoting this program. Inside Safety FM, outside of Safety FM. What are we? We're a show. Well, let me back up. We're a lifelong dream for me. I always wanted to be in talk radio as a host. Then podcasting came around, and it got more and more popular. And Jay Allen had spoke to me, and he said, hey, perhaps you would like to try this out. So, and here we are. Almost 500 shows later, we're here, and we have a live show like tonight, and we also have pre-recorded, and back in the day, it was like a 15, 20-minute show, and what happens is most people, I can tell you, most people can do a 20-episode podcast. Right? Most people can do that. The question is, what do you do after 20? What are you going to do? With me, so this has led to what are we? We talk about safety. We talk about safety in the news, and we talk about whatever happens to interest me, where I can comment on. I've had a very good life. I'm not bragging. I've been very fortunate. I've been very blessed. I never, it's a blessing and a curse, where I have a tendency of not saying no. Recently, I said no, not saying no, meaning saying yes. And recently, and Jay Allen was one of them, and said, Jimmy, you got to set borders here, and a whole bunch of other folks. You got to have borders. You have to have boundaries. And when I need to, I put up boundaries there. I can't say yes to everything. But the other thing is that whatever interests me is what I'm going to talk about. And I was involved in political campaign many years. I was involved, obviously, in the health and safety business, going on passing 30 plus years, and many different things I've been involved in. So that's what we talk about here. We talk about OSHA stuff, EPA stuff, other stuff. We have a couple of news articles here on perchloroethylene here. And that's what we talk about. We lend our expertise. And when there's a high-profile accident out there, we give a lot of commentary on that. So here we go. Government shutdown. Right? This is from CBS News. What to know on day 42 of the government shutdown. The funding bill that would end the longest government shutdown in U.S. history is headed to the House for a final vote as soon as Wednesday. So this could all be done tomorrow by the time the president signs the bill, assuming he can go. Now, what's pissing a lot of people off is that they feel that the Democrats caved in. I'm going to tell you, it all depends on your perspective here. A lot of Democrats feel that the Democrats caved in. Right? Okay, great. A lot of people feel that the Republicans are a little bit too hard on this because of the length of the shutdown here. Right? I think it's a little bit of both. The fact of the matter that we got to this point is problematic. We have to hold everybody responsible here. One point of view is going to say, well, the other person's more responsible, this person's more responsible. The reality is this. I don't know what the other states are. I live in New York, Rockland County. And New York, I did a little bit of research. New York has a lot of people, 3 million people on SNAP. Right? And I forget the exact numbers, but when you add together the elderly, the children, and the disabled, it comes out to 61% of that 3 million. With that. Now, the problem here is this. Okay, people say, well, we got to cut these benefits. We got to cut the... Okay, let's get something straight here. Who in their right mind, what reasonable person wants to cut benefits to disabled people, elderly, and children? I know what it should be. All children should be taken care of by their parents. We get that. Okay. But that's not always possible. The parents may be elderly. The legal guardians may be elderly. Or they may be disabled. So now you have children. Now, what can we do with the other 39% that are presumably able-bodied, who are able to work? That's what the question is. Some of them may not be able to work or may be in poverty because of they're taking care of the children, the elderly, and the disabled. Right? Not everybody could go into has the means or the savvy to get people into situations where other people could take care of it and other people could pay for it. The way it is. So what do we do about the 39%? If they can work and their situation is they can work, why aren't they working? All right, fair question. Can we do something about that 39%? That's what we have to quote-unquote play with. Now, as everybody here knows, if you're a long-time listener, I've been involved in adult education for at-risk communities. And I can tell you, as I've put thousands of people through the training classes that I give, and I tell you what, there are 1,000 different stories. Everyone has a different story. Some of the main themes are this. optimism. Very difficult to be optimistic in those situations, which means people become cynical or pessimistic. Extremely difficult to be. That's the number one thing. And that's also leadership, positive leadership. Educational systems with that. No moral guidance of some sort. That's another one. Culture. Inner city culture. That's one of them. Now you're going to say, well, Jim, tough on them and blah, blah, blah. I got my own problems. Guess what? Their problems become everybody's problems. I'm not advocating socialism or communism here. But as one of my very good friends that passed away, Robert, had said, it's not enough to say, I want to cut a government program. It's not enough. What are you going to replace whatever that government program is? What are you going to replace it with society? And oftentimes you get people who are libertarian, right-leaning, well, cut these programs and I'm going to go back into whatever, my context, whatever. I'm going to go home and F everybody else and you figure it out yourself. And that's very nice that you could say that. But that's not what we're called to do. If you're going to cut these programs, what are you going to do? Is it going to be charity? Are you going to go down there to a soup kitchen and help people out? Are you going to supply the leadership that a lot of these communities absolutely need to go out there and do whatever it is? If it's jobs programs, are you going to help them get jobs? Are you going to go and vote for conditions and vote for politicians that are going to give us conditions that we could actually go and build the economy with this? What are you going to do? Or are you just going to say, well, it's none of my business? Because for you to go out there and say, we're going to cut these programs, well, what's the replacement on that? Some questions. And by the way, well, Jim, you got to talk about the left. Yeah, we're going to talk about the left right now. The problem with these programs is not the social safety net, which I think most people want is a social safety net. For people who are truly having problems, truly indigent, and need help, you gotta help them. The problem is when you have able-bodied people that maybe need a little bit of leadership, a little bit of encouragement, a little bit of incentive. Because as we know, context and incentives drive behavior to get them into the workforce, to get clear up their situation. And like I said, 39% are there in New York. What are the 39%? Now you have now as many people as many reasons here. We got to help each other out here, and you got to show leadership. You can't go behind that gated community wall or that, oh, we're going to live in a nice community without actually going out there and trying to help people, trying to inspire people. That's part of what we do here with this. And of course, patience and understanding. Get a lot more out of that than the carrot and stick approach usually. And that's my rant. We have to help people. And the left has, and the way that they've done this, right? And the right has gone along with it too. Let's not. Now they've allowed the government to weaponize food. Oh yeah, there were politicians here talking about leverage. Well, we're gonna do leverage. This is the only leverage we have. Really, to starve people? There are some other governments that have done that in the past. Recent past is the Ukrainian government. Late 1920s, early 1930s, up to World War II. Soviet Union starved the Ukraine out. What's the other thing? We'll go back a little bit further in history. Marie Antoinette, who allegedly said, well, they're not sure, she said, let them eat cake. Well, the peasants have no food, we'll let them eat cake. And it's gone on and on, weaponizing food. Again and again and again, and using food for a political agenda. Niger Innis from the Conference on Racial Equality, who I knew, right, one of the leaders of the civil rights group. Him and Niger Innes, his son, pointed out to me. Now they talk about path not taken. They wanted me to join their organization on an expedition to Africa. Path not taken. Had I to do over again, yeah, I would have went. My dad and I were going to go. They had us all signed up, wanted to go. They were trying to recruit us, specifically on eco-imperialism. They were involved, where we were holding up people in Africa, preventing them from modern farming techniques. So now they can't feed themselves, and we're going to weaponize it. And by the way, we're going to send them food from everywhere else, and they're going to pay for it. Another form of colonialism. So again, we got to get away from this weaponizing food as much as possible with this. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. There are many solutions. Now, the bill that they just passed in Congress, U.S. at risk of another long shutdown from January 30th after paper-thin deal. So we may be all back here January 30th doing this, right, with the shutdown. Now, we know this is going to happen, right? They got to pass another bill. They got to negotiate, right? So what I would suggest everybody do, go and call and I'm not going to give out the number, go call up your congressional switchboard and complain to Congress. Make a deal. What are you doing? The other thing is this. You know that they're using food as a weapon. We know that. Do what you can to work on food security between now and January 30th, as you're able to. Go out there and get a couple extra cans of beans every shopping day, or what name it, chicken soup. Right. In the Northeast, a couple of supermarkets have the canned food thing, right? ShopRite has the can sale in January. Or is it February? You go out and you start stocking up on food if you have food security issues. If you're a government worker, put some of that money aside. Figure out other things. Maybe if it's legal, get a side gig going. Get some money coming in. And don't go nuts at Christmas, because we may be back here on January 30th. Well, no, we're going to talk, right? Disaster preparation. Maybe when I talk about it, we should say government shutdown because they can't get their GUVNO together. Oh, by the way, it's Poland Independence Day today, November 11th. So, and the other thing, one of the things that they're holding up on is the Affordable Care Act, which in 2021 Joe Biden signed into law. That only gave the subsidies a 5-year limit. So, I don't know. Here we have Democrats push for a ruthlessly pragmatic approach to counter Trump. This is a story by Yasmin Abatuleb, Dan Merca, Patrick Marley from the Washington Post. The fury at 8 Democratic Alliance senators who voted were Republicans in the longest ever government shutdown highlights the dramatic shift in the Democratic Party less than a year into President Donald Trump's second term, as voters and lawmakers argue that the party needs to adopt more ruthless tactics to counter the president and claw its way back to power. I think helping to cause a government shutdown, where with all the other problems we have, and then cutting SNAP benefits, I think that's pretty a ruthless approach. I don't know. What are they going to do next? What are they saying? Again, let's keep it within the Overton window a little bit here, guys, where we're trying to nudge things one way or another, not take on radical views, because as we know, and I forget who the writer was, I threw the book out many years ago, where let's promote, let the radical people find more radical people who will promote things, and they can say, well, look, we're not even radical. Look at that. Is that what's going on here? And guess what? Republicans, guess what? Let's not do this again. Because this time it may not have hurt you politically. Next time, I don't think so. Now, the people who voted for this, I don't have a list here in front of me, but one of the things is that a lot of them are not running for re-election. Here's another one from The View today. Co-host Sonny Hust and Press Senator John Fetterman from Pennsylvania on Tuesday on why he voted to end the government shutdown, accusing him of bringing a butter knife to a gunfight. Right? And who else was it? Right? 8 senators to vote to end the shutdown. Gavin Newsom and Bernie Sanders. Gavin Newsom, who's running for president, he started the process, even if it's unofficial. Right? A lot of these folks are not either worried or not going to be running for re-election here. So what was? Oh, here are the names. Fetterman has consistently voted with the GOP senators to reopen the government throughout the 41-day shutdown. He was joined by 7 other senators. Senators Angus King, an independent from Maine, Catherine Cortez Masto, Democratic from Nevada, Jean Shaheen, Democrat from New Hampshire, Maggie Hassan, Democrat from New Hampshire, Jackie Rosen, Democrat from Nevada, Tim Kaine, Democrat from Virginia, and the number 2 Democrat in the Senate, Dick Durbin, all voted for an updated CR that would end the shutdown. Reportedly, they're not running for re-election, or they don't care on that. Now, even though we have, things will start going, opening up again. Here we have flight. Where is it? Yeah, I'm going to share this screen. Again, normally I don't share the screens unless they're government websites, so I think this is all, I'm using this under fair use. So this is from today, from flightaware.com. Total delays say 15,801. Total delays within, into, or out of the United States in a day, 3,387. Total cancellations for today, 1,828. Total cancellations within, into, or out of the United States today, 1,250. And it shows you all the major airports here. Ay. Incredible. And then the airlines and everything. I mean, this is... oh. They're not going to be able to get this straightened out. Here's the misery map here. All the biggest ones where they all look about the same here. Some better than others. I think the little circles less of a problem. Big circles more of a problem. The big circle was down in the New York City area, and Chicago, and Dallas, that major hubs. LAX and San Francisco, a little bit less so. Okay. Will flight cuts impact my Thanksgiving travel? This is from USA Today. Right? The Department of Transportation is still requiring airlines to reduce this from USA Today. Flight schedules by 10% at 40 major airports nationwide, even as the government shutdown winds down. For now, major carriers say they will mostly cut service through their regional partners, meaning flights between large hubs and smaller cities and towns are most likely to be affected. Typically, with a storm, one airline can recover operations within 48 to 72 hours. But that's when one hub is impacted. This is unprecedented. It is a storm season, so you're dealing with all the airports pretty much doing this. I know, they don't know. Uncharted territory. This is from The Hill. People are pissed at Chuck Schumer with that. I don't know how much more he's going to be in Congress here with that. Okay, let's move on away from this story. Have you heard this? Screaming is all the rage. I mean, this is on TikTok. So, for example, there's a young woman out in the middle of the woods, and she does this screaming, right? Blood curdling. And then you see a guy running out from behind the bushes. He was using the bushes as cover. Right? Probably staged, but it's still pretty funny. And we'll just say that he had a roll of toilet paper in one hand. So, funny thing. But the last person to speak at a protest was a young woman. She said she was a healthcare worker that just finished a 12-hour overnight shift. So the title of the article by Jordan Kisner. He participated in a 30-minute group scream. Right? We are the people, this woman shouted. The organizer of the group scream reached her bullhorn, indicating the speaker's time was up, but she was not finished with her litany of injustices. The children being killed, the other children being deprived of health care, the cruel evisceration of social services that keep people alive, and suddenly she stalled. Everybody seems to be screaming into the void these days. News items pop out about people who have gathered to scream, not in protest, but just to scream. I mean, that used to be a saying back in the day. Your mother would say, "You kids are driving me nuts. I could just scream," right? So I don't think it's that new of a phenomenon, but I think an organized scream is what's that? You know, you had people here. During her recent tour, Olivia Rodrigo led audience in a group screams. Florence and the Machine's newly released album reads like an instruction. Everybody scream. Right? Is this like a Howard Beale moment? Oh, no, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Open up your windows? Maybe. With that. Okay. Now, let's go talk about safety, Jim. Okay, we'll talk about safety. Here we have panic at sea as cruise ship Catamaran sinks, leaving terrified tourists floating for their lives. My God, who would name a catamaran carrying passengers from the Mein Schiff Ein? I imagine this is German. Mein Schiff Ein. Cruise ship sank off the coast of the Dominican Republic on Sunday afternoon. Over 50 individuals aboard the catamaran were rescued by the Navy as their vessel sank on Sunday afternoon. A boat ferrying passengers from the Mein Schiff Ein cruise ship found itself sinking off the Dominican Republic's coast, prompting rescue operations. RTL reported that the catamaran Boca de Yuma 1, servicing the cruise ship, began to unexpectedly take on water and eventually completely submerge. Images and videos depicted anxious tourists donning life jackets and floating in the water before they safely retrieved by the Dominican neighbor. Nobody was hurt, reportedly. I tell you what, there's a book out there called The Unthinkable by Amanda Ridley, I believe the author is. A little bit dated now. It's about 15 years old, but I tell you what, a lot of good information. And it's like very important you know where the life jackets are. You listen to that safety briefing. And when you go to other countries, they may or may not be required to do that safety briefing with that. I know when we went on vacation last in the Caribbean, we had our own life jackets. There, we wore the life jackets. I did, at least. I could swim. I'm not that good at swimming. The kids did on the boat that we were on. All right. And, of course, my wife says, "Jim, you're swimming with a shirt on." I said, "Yes." I said, "What color is the shirt?" She said, "Orange." I said, "Okay, why is it orange?" "Well, in case you drown, we can find the body." I said, "You damn right, honey." All right. This is out of Australia. Children who commit serious crimes will be sentenced as adults under a state government's plan to combat youth crime. Victoria will adopt adult time for violent crime laws, mirroring Queensland, which implemented the tough approach in 2024. Children as young as 14 can be tried in adult courts and possibly face life sentences. The proposed changes announced by the Premier on Wednesday. So here's what the problem here. what's your problem and what are you going to solve? How are you going to solve it by doing this? Maybe there's a problem with the system here, and with this. So what? No, one of the article goes on to say, as a community, we are content to deal with children that way. Are we content to deal with children that way? And how many years in the future, when they're affected by such profound way by going into adult custody, are we prepared for those consequences? The person said a high percentage of children coming before the courts have been exposed to family violence or had violence perpetrated upon them, or were being managed by Child Protective Services with little or no family support. There's a real sense of a want of belonging. That does not say a lot. There's a sense of belonging by a lot of these children, which motivates their involvement in crime. You ever heard that? Going way, way back. Now, let's see. The article just had an issue here. We'll come back to that. Oh, here it is. This is from Newsweek. The number one country song in America is AI generated. As everyone knows here, yes, these are not original songs by Safety Warrior. They are AI generated that we use here on this. According to Billboard's Country Digital Song Sales Chart, the number one song in the U.S. is Walk My Way by Breaking Russ, an artist that was created by artificial intelligence. Newsweek has contacted Breaking Russ via social media message outside of regular working hours for comment. Why it matters is a new development in the new music industry. Yes, it is. I tell you it is. With that, less and less a need for artists making music. That's not very good. Now, Jim, well, you're a hypocrite. You use it. Yeah, I do use it, and there are other hosts out there that do use it and everything else. I tell you what, where are you going? So tonight we talked about the shutdown. Where are you going to find somebody to write a song about a shutdown? How about this one?
Come and listen to a story about a man named Jim. Safety's his game and the odds were looking grim. Workplace.
Where are you going to get music made like that, customized with that? You're not. So people go to AI with that. And are we forced to do that? Again, people are driven by incentives. If I were to go and hire somebody to write that song, be a lot of money. This isn't like in the old days. No, I was reading an article today about Pink Floyd. Great Gig in the Sky, right? So the story here is this. It's from The Dark Side of the Moon in 1973. Song features blah, 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 and there is a session and wordless vocals by session singer Claire Torrey. Now, what happened was she did very few takes on that. Right? She did this. Okay, what sounds good? No, they asked her a bunch of questions. Well, are you afraid of dying? With that. And what they wanted to do, right? What they wanted to do was they wanted to get her in the right frame of mind for the song and the instruments. And she went out and with that whole thing, that emotional outburst, whatever you want to call it, as about dying, basically. So what ended up happening was she came up with the music, and they paid her, I think it was 29 pounds, British pounds. And they ended up going, they did not give her credit on the album. Eventually in 2005, there was a settlement made. But that's one of the articles that I read about today in prep here. So, again, this is not in 1973 where you're going to pay someone £29 for that. And guess what? Now you have a situation. Now, here we have, and this report came out a while ago, but it was just reported today in the news. This is from Fox News. Common cleaning chemical tied to spike. No, that's why we use AI for all this stuff, right? Common cleaning chemical tied to spike in liver disease across the U.S., researchers say. Study finds 7% of American adults have detectable levels of tetrachloroethylene in their blood. So what's tetrachloroethylene? It is in adhesives. It's in spot cleaners. Stainless steel. I have another story here with this, right? With this that I know personally. And was associated with 3 times greater odds of significant liver fibrosis in U.S. adults, according to research from the Keck School of Medicine, University of California. Liver fibrosis is a buildup of scar tissue that can progress to liver cancer, liver failure, and death. The researchers also identified a dose-response relationship, meaning the greater exposure to PCE, Paracelsus, guys, led to a higher likelihood of developing liver fibrosis. And what do they use? They use National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey from 1917 to 2020. The measure analyzed blood samples in 1,614 adults aged 20 and older, finding that about 7% of the population had detectable levels of the chemical. And with that, and it mentions here, prior studies have mainly focused on exposure to PCE for work at the dry cleaners. And guess what? Now we see exposure outside of the workplace. Now, let's break out this SDS on here. Where is the SDS? So, boom, boom. So I'm looking up as a safety data sheet here. So tetrachloroethylene or perchloroethylene, again, they with that. Now, what does that mean? Now, when we look at the chemical formula here, right, with that, it is, let me get the empirical formula. Hold on. Should be on the SDS here because I'm blanking out here. Hold on. So the empirical formula for PCE is C3. No, that ain't it. Hold on. This is embarrassing. Yes. PCE. The C2, Cl4, perchloroethylene. C2, 2 carbon atoms, 4 chlorine atoms. All right, now let's get back. Now, since you know it's chlorine, you know, right? You know it's chlorine. What does that tell you about the chemical? So right now there is a right now, and it always will be, there is a bias against chlorine. Chlorine is one of those very environmentally pervasive chemicals out there. Well, what do you mean, Jim? It doesn't really go anywhere. So a lot of your major pollutants out there have chlorine in it. One of them is polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs. I don't know if you would call it a forever chemical, right? But it's basically a forever chemical. And they found it all over the world in some of the most remote places out there. So what are the exposures for occupational exposures? For tetrachloroethylene, the time-weighted average from the ACGIH, the threshold limit value, is 25 parts per million. Under the STEL short-term exposure limit, it is 100 parts per million. The OSHA PEL that was vacated in 1989 was 25 parts per million, or vacated was 170 milligrams per meter cube, with a ceiling limit not vacated of 200, meaning not to exceed, is 200 parts per million, and the TWA at 100 part per million. So essentially, OSHA, when they go out there and they enforce a standard, they have to go off of the OSHA PEL. When you get into tort law, different story. God knows what's going to happen there. It all depends on what the attorneys want to do. For the NIOSH, now this is where it becomes interesting. NIOSH IDLH, immediately dangerous to life and health, is 150, but the OSHA ceiling limit is 200 with that. So I would go with the lower thing here, which is ACGIH TLV, which is what is normally used in the 1910-120 HAZWOPER regulation, Hazardous Waste Site Operations and Emergency Response. That is my understanding. If I'm wrong, I'm sure I'll hear about it. So with that, so that's basically it with that. Now, what are some of the cautionary statements on here? So it is a target organ is kidney, liver, and blood. Anything with chlorine in it, that's usually what it comes down to. Kidney and liver with that. As a skin sensitizer, skin and corrosion, irritation, serious eye damage with that. Some of the hazard statements, signal word for it is danger, and hazard statements are causes skin irritation, causes serious eye irritation, may cause an allergic skin reaction, may cause drowsiness, may cause cancer, may cause damaged organs through prolonged and repeated exposure on that. And that's basically it. So what you do is you start with the safety data sheet. Now, I'm going to share this real briefly here. I don't think the name, you'll be able to see it online here. But here's something. Personal protective equipment. It does not give you anything here. It doesn't really tell you anything. Wear appropriate protective glasses. They don't even say ANSI Z87 or goggles or anything like that. Or chemical safety goggles as described by OSHA's eye and face regulations. Protection regulations in 29 CFR 1910-133 or European Standard EN 166. They really don't tell you anything with it. So what are you left to do? You have to call up the manufacturer and find out what they are, and there are other resources outside the SDS for this. You have skin and body protection. Wear appropriate protective gloves. Well, what are they? Where do you find this information? You find this information and you can call the manufacturer. And there are publications out there that have the exact thing. And when you're looking at gloves, oftentimes they have either on the glove themselves in the package that it comes in, or the other one is on the website, what that glove, what that protective suit, protective boots are good for, and they have the breakthrough times. And that's like a story for another day. That's 40-hour HAZWOPER training on that. Now, I didn't even take one commercial here. We're at 51 minutes. We're going to end with some commercials here in a couple minutes, as well as full-blown AI music here. For that, that's where we're going to go out of. And we're going to have our usual Star Spangled Banner to mark the end of the program here. Let's see what else we're going to talk about. All right, so here we have from Study Finds, a reviewer by John Anderer, right? So research led by Francisco Zamorano, University of San Sebastian. Here. Study: rival wins hit your brain like drugs. Rival losses turn off your self-control. In a nutshell, your brain's emergency brake goes into quiet during rival defeats. Right? Highly engaged fans showed reduced activity in the brain region that normally keeps aggressive impulses in check, potentially explaining why some fans turn violent after crushing losses. Right? Beating your rival activates the same reward system as sex, good food, and drugs. Wow. When fans watch your team score against rivals, not just any team, the brain's pleasure centers lit up intensely, tapping into ancient tribal circuits that evolved to celebrate group victories. The more fanatical you are, the more extreme your brain's response. Fanatics show bigger drops in emotional control during defeats compared to casual fans, suggesting a spectrum of neurological intensity that matches psychological engagement levels. It's not just a game, it's your brain, it's tribal warfare. Brain responses only fired intensely when rivals were involved. I tell you what, how does this involve the safety? You're in the safety field, you're talking to people. You every once in a while, hey, do this. We're going to change this procedure. We're going to do this. Have you ever had people just go nuts on you? Happens to me. Not so much anymore. We learned to manage this. So, rage. And this gives a medical basis for that. Triggering. Something to think about. I don't know. What do? You got to learn to freaking control yourself, people. My question is, here, when your rival team wins the championship, why do the fans go out, when your team wins the championship, why do your fans go out and riot? That's my question. Because I think we have more experience with that in this country than in Europe. Here's another one. Listening to joyful music can ease motion sickness, but sad songs make it worse. No, I'm not going to go into that Elton John song. This is from Study Finds here, research led by Dr. Bang Bai Tang and Dr. Xiong Hu from Southwest University. It's from a while back here, 2 months ago, but here you go. In a nutshell, soft and joyful music worked best, reducing motion sickness symptoms by about 57%. Stirring music helped somewhat, 48%, while sad music worsened symptoms compared to natural recovery. EEG monitor revealed links between brain activity and the occipital lobe and relief, with increases of calming alpha waves during recovery. The study was small, 30 adults with limited statistical power. So these are preliminary things. So my question is this, right? We all know, hey, when I want to relax, I put on music. We all know that. Yeah, put on whatever that is. Right? Whatever you consider relaxed. Some people consider heavy metal relaxing. I don't necessarily. Some people find it very exhilarating. Hey, we're going to get going, blah, 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 blah. We're going to do our thing. How's AI music play into this? Right? That's my question. Are people actually going to go out and write their own music with AI to, hey, I want a song on, maybe I do it for humor and here with a lot of this stuff, a lot of these songs. We have a couple of good ones coming up this weekend for those Boy Scout camp sing-along here, where we were able to create some AI music for that. What else we got here? I tell you what, we're going to cut it short there. And we're going to, again, wish everybody, all of our veterans, happy Veterans Day. And for Poland, happy Independence Day for Poland here. And we hope to see you back tomorrow. For Safety Wars and the Safety FM network, this is Jim Polzel. Good night, good evening, wherever you are at.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.